Join a community of mentors, friends, and leaders who will walk with you in your calling. Courses designed to deepen your faith and equip you for ministry. On Mondays at 6 p.m., it's Christian Counseling, Diagnosing and Treating Personality Disorders with Dr. Bruce Fletcher. On Tuesdays at 10:30 a.m., it's Christian Education, the Bible, Your Curriculum, with Dr. Bruce Fletcher. Tuesdays at 6 p.m., it's Christian Ministry, the Gospel of Mark, with Donna Meyer. Thursdays at 6:30 p.m., it's Theology, the Normal Christian Life, with Dr. Anthony Orwell. Each class is rooted in Scripture and led by experienced instructors to help you to grow spiritually and serve effectively. Whether called to lead, teach, or serve, Spirit Life is where your journey begins.
Right. So let's open up with prayer, and then we're going to move into our lesson. So Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for this class time. Thank you for the topic that we're going to be looking at tonight, Father, finding and identifying strengths and weaknesses. And I pray that you would give us insight into this, Father, and use us to be able to help people to overcome these personality disorders, the weaknesses, and how to make their strengths even stronger. So we pray your blessing upon this class. I did it with my phone, but I actually have better copies if those don't work out good for you. But I had to do that so I could put it online. So all of the students that are online, if you are enrolled through Thinkific, if you go to tonight's lesson, lesson number 3, and in that lesson there is a link that will take you to the strengths and weaknesses of each of the personality types that the students have in hand here. So you can avail yourself to that. So I want to spend just a little bit of time talking about strengths and weaknesses. So just keep in mind that we are talking about the 4 basic personality types that were developed by Hippocrates, the sanguine, the choleric, the melancholy, and the phlegmatic. And in just a little while, we're going to be talking about, on one hand, we're going to talk about the personality profile test that I have been using for many years, and I've made copies of those as well. And you're each going to get a copy of that at some point in the class. And the reason is I want you to either use it on yourself or find a victim or volunteer, whichever one. And
I already did it.
You already did. Did you do the online one that we gave?
Yeah.
Okay, this is different.
This is different? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
The online one is the one that Helen found, and that's a good one as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But this one is just a little bit more detailed, I think, than that
okay.
one.
Because
Okay.
it said that I was phlegmatic and peaceful, but there's some things here that I don't really feel like I'm some of these things.
Okay. Well, you see, this is exactly what we would do with counseling.
Yeah.
When a person would finish that, then as a counselor, I would take a look at that and go over it with you.
Yeah.
And you say, well, I don't get this, I don't think this is right, or whatever. And then we would do some digging and figure it out.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
But the primary thing that we want to be looking for when we're done with the profile test is, let's identify the strengths and weaknesses that each of the people have, okay? and what is the dominant. That's the key thing. And I would come in agreement with the analysis of that you have a primarily phlegmatic personality. I would agree.
Yeah.
You're okay. Okay. All right. So there are a few things, and I have some slides for these, and I want you to get these just from technical things as we get ready to roll tonight. The first thing is that personality strengths and weaknesses are inherent traits that vary among individuals, with each personality type having its own set of characteristics. So now you have a list in front of you with all of the strengths and the weaknesses, and you will see that there are a lot in each one of the categories for each of the personality types. But not every person that takes this is going to find the same weaknesses. Some are going to have strengths that others don't have in that personality type. And the same thing when it comes to the weaknesses. Some will have them, some won't have them. This is why it has to be a personal thing. You cannot just automatically say because you are a phlegmatic personality type or a choleric personality type, these are going to be automatically your weaknesses and your strengths. And I've said this before in the beginning of this course, is that the idea behind this is not just to give people information about what their weaknesses and their strengths are, but to be able to work with them to overcome the weaknesses that they have. That is what we refer to, or I refer to, as character development. So the personality type is what you are programmed to act like. And then your weaknesses are the things that we try to overcome, and that's character development. Okay? So everybody has them. Everybody has strengths, and everybody has weaknesses. And what God will do sometimes is He will bring people together. He knows their weaknesses. He knows their strengths. But He will put people together that have varying strengths and varying weaknesses so that they complement each other. We don't want to be competing with each other. And this applies in relationships. This applies in the workplace. This is probably one of the best things for somebody to understand if they're especially a manager or a leader at work, right? You want to be able to identify personality types and then be able to work with them over their weaknesses so that you can put them in the right position. You don't want to make mistakes of putting the wrong people in a position, because they will either mess it all up, affect the rest of the team, or they could really damage somebody. So you have to watch out for that. Okay, now these traits can be grouped into basic personality types, which seem to be largely fixed from birth and can be shaped to some extent by environment. Now, I've covered a lot of this stuff already, so I'm kind of just doing a recap so that you can have an understanding of this. And whenever it comes to environmental personality disorders, you have to be able to identify that, okay? And when you see somebody off the chart on something that shouldn't be scoring like that, you know that they're doing what? Masking. That's it. You guys remembered from last week. And that's what we look for, is then we want to know, why are they masking? Because we want to be able to bring resolution to the issue that is causing that. And then begin to help them to adapt to their real personality type. I've done that several times in counseling, find that people are masking, some more severe than others. And it's one of the things that I will do is I'll go back into the test with them and begin to really do some probing questions, okay? And then we find those weaknesses, and once we've got it clear, then we begin to work on the weaknesses. Now, I'm going to jump ahead, Hazel, here. So understanding your personality type can be a tool for personal growth and improving relationships, as it allows individuals to accentuate their strengths and minimize their weaknesses. You'd be surprised the number of times that I have to do these tests with marriage counseling. And sometimes even in the premarital counseling, I'll use something like this here so that they have an understanding of each other and their personality types. All right, so it's important. Am I going too fast? Okay, I'll slow down. All right, you all set? Okay. So it's important to accept and appreciate both the strengths and weaknesses in ourselves and others, recognizing that God has created diversity in human personalities for complementary purposes. So let me ask you a question while that's still up on the board. Do you think that that means that we should ignore other people's weaknesses? No. Okay. What should we do?
Help them develop
Exactly.
their weaknesses too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you want? To help them overcome their
Yeah.
weaknesses. But the thing is we need to know that they are there, and we shouldn't be shocked when they're revealed. Now, one of the things I've noticed in counseling is that a lot of people try to cover up their weaknesses. They try to live in what I call the Egyptian disease. Denial.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's when you face it and you accept the fact that you have these weaknesses, that's when you can begin to make change in your life. But if you ignore it and pretend it's not there, then you're not going to change. But here's the thing that other people need to know, is that no matter how much we try to hide things, people can see right through it because it's a thin veil. Okay?
Yeah, that happens to me all the time. Like at my job, I'll come in, and if I'm not like my regular jovial self, they're like, "What's going on? What's wrong?"
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I have a face that they're like, I can see it on your face, and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I have a face.
Well, people do. They don't
Yeah.
realize it. Their face shows a lot of things. Okay? You can smile, but some people can see through it. So the goal is to refine one's personality over time, potentially acquiring the strengths of all four personalities without the weaknesses while maintaining authenticity. Now, that is the ideal. Let's talk about practical. Now, who was it that asked me the question, what personality type was Jesus? Was that you? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we discussed that a little bit. So in Jesus, you have the strengths of all four personalities minus the weaknesses.
Yes.
Okay? So what is our goal in life?
To be like Jesus.
To be Christ-like.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going through a process of transformation. God uses the process of sanctification for transformation. So how are we transformed? By the renewing of our minds. And what we have to renew in our minds is what we think about God, what we think about the Word of God, what we think about ourselves. These are all things that God is going to work on with us to transform us. So you can, after a long period of time and then, Christian maturity, you can start showing strengths from all four of the personality types. And that would not be considered masking. Does that make sense? Yes. Yeah, that's not masking. Masking is when you still have a lot of weaknesses, but you're pretending that you don't. You want to be somebody else other than who you are, and that comes from what? Pressure, domineering partners, domineering parents, and so on. Okay? All right. Any questions on those things that I just shared with you? Very good. Now, I'm going to do something. I'm not going to share this with you, the paper itself. I pulled out of my archives some personality scoring sheets that I have done way back. All right, this is probably 15 years ago, at least. And when I was going through these and looking at them, I realized that some of the people had already passed away. But I'm not going to give you any names, but I'm going to share with you from the personality scoring sheet what came up here. So this one in particular, this was a female, and she scored very high in the peaceful phlegmatic with the strengths. And her second was melancholy. Now, how does that sound to you as a blend? Is that a normal blend?
It's within the introverted, so I would say
Yep.
so.
Yes. Yep. So when I looked at this, I'm like, okay, so the strengths scoring in the right area, but what about the weaknesses? Okay. So taking a look at the weaknesses, the high score there was in phlegmatic. And then the second in this case was still melancholy. And this is again in the weaknesses. No weaknesses from the choleric. Well, yeah, there were two. I'm sorry. I just saw there were just two of them there. And then, scored a 4 in the popular sanguine, but that is nothing to give me an alarm. All right. So let me work down through some of the strengths of this particular one. This person scored adaptable. Now, do you guys have the definition sheet of these? You don't have one. So, if you would hand out one copy for each person. What this is here is the blank personality profile test. They're not all identical. I had to make some from a book once.
Thank you. This one.
All right. So let me just go over that with you right now, okay? And then I'm going to set this aside for a moment. So you will see the very front. This is your profile test. Now, with each of these, your first category are strengths, and then you have the weaknesses. So beginning with number 1, the idea is to take a look at each of the words. There are 4 words across, right? And then determine which one is the most often applying to you. Where are the definitions? Next page.
Right.
So you're going to want to look at these, and then, you look at the definitions. So let's just say that you're taking this for yourself, or you got somebody that's taking it. So the first thing you want to do is look at the 4 words that are here and the definitions, and see which one most often applies to you. And depending on which one it is, we could work through these if you guys want to do it right now.
That'd be so cool.
People online aren't going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
But, are you a person who will take on new and daring enterprises with a determination to master them?
Yeah.
You've already, yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes it depends on what it is.
Well, what we want to do before you make a decision, you got to
Yeah.
look at all 4.
Yeah.
Because what you want to see is which one most often applies to you. You could be a person that every now and then takes on something that's daring in your mind. You think is very daring, but it may not be considered daring to somebody else.
Right.
All right, so the next one is adaptable, which that's what the other person I was talking about chose. Easily fits and is comfortable in any situation. In other words, you kind of blend in. You're able to adapt to what's going on. You don't have to be up in the forefront, but you can just kind of fit in. Are you a person that is full of life, lively use of your hands, your arm, your face gestures? You ever notice those people? There are some that stand with their hands in their pockets, and there are others that forget it. They can't speak. That's like putting a muzzle on them. Put their hands in their pocket, you got a muzzle on their mouth. And then there is the analytical type. They like to examine the parts of their logical and proper relationships. So ask yourself, which one of those most often applies to you? Adventurous, adaptable, animated, or analytical? Now what you would do is go to the profile test, the front page, and just put an X in front of the word on line number 1, identifying which one you most often identify with, okay? Then you go to the next one. Now, I'm not going to go through each one because I could be doing this all night. All right, the next one, the 4 choices are persistent, playful, persuasive, or peaceful. Are you the type of person that sees one project through to its completion before starting another one? People that don't do that, what do they often say they're doing? Multitasking. There's a deception to multitasking. There are people that will say, well, I'm a multitasker. I'm a good multitasker. The problem that you have with that, the weakness of that, is that you cannot give 100% focus to one. Your attention is divided. Okay?
Sometimes your job wants you to be a multitasker.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Sometimes you
that's-
have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is, are you that type of a person? Are you the type of person that has to see one thing through to its completion and then start another?
I have to do that.
Are you a playful person that's full of fun and good humor? A persuasive person that convinces through logic and fact rather than charm or power? Or are you peaceful? You seem undisturbed and tranquil and retreat from any form of strife. Find another place to get to. Get away from the strife. Okay? So you see how this is working? Mm-hmm. Now, if you are guiding the person that is taking the profile test, you can ask them questions. Okay? One of the big questions is, if you're not quite sure which one of these most often applied to you, what were you like when you were a child? Think back to your childhood and these words here and the definitions. What were you like then? You can say, well, I'm not the same now as I was then. And this is where we would want to identify. Is that because you're masking now, or you've gained some new strengths? Are you missing something?
The definitions?
They're the same. They're just copied from something different.
Yeah, I don't have it.
All right. As you're looking at this, do you have any questions?
I like that you said to look back at who you initially was, because I feel that I'm a whole work in progress. A lifetime work in progress.
Yep.
So I can see how I was one, but then I finally upgraded to another, so I should add the initial foundation.
I would say yes. You want to try to identify which one of these would describe you when you were young,
Oh.
before you had any kind of traumas in your life or whatever. No, a lot of times what will happen when a person takes this, one of two things. They will either choose the one that they think they need to be, or choose the one that other people are telling them that they are, right? So this is where you have to probe as a counselor. Why did you pick that? If it looks, if your scoring looks askewed, then you want to ask them, why did you choose this? And once you become proficient in personality profiling, you're going to be able to know when a person is masking in certain areas. You can tell by their behaviors, their body movements, their gestures, the way that they dress, all of those things, what personality type they are. You're going to automatically know right away. So you're not going to have to think, well, I got to figure this one out. You're going to say, okay, I can see, I can identify that with them.
I still cannot tell with the dressing, but the body language, how they move, their demeanor, that gives it to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting better at it.
That's body language.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell a person that wants to be in charge.
Yeah.
You can tell by the way that they walk into a room. And one thing that I was taught, and I started observing it when I would go to conferences, they taught us that if you want to identify the true leaders in the room, watch them when they give a break and they have coffee or pastries or whatever, and they say, we're going to take a break and you can go get some refreshments. You ever notice that there are people that just stand around and they look at the table but they don't move? But once somebody else goes to the table, then they'll go. They're followers.
Yeah.
The people that will get up and just go to the table are the ones that say, you told me to go, I'm going. Mm-hmm. All right? So they're leaders. They have leadership qualities in their lives. That's just a simple little test. Mm-hmm. But it's been fun watching that because I'm a people watcher. I don't go to the mall hardly at all. It's probably been 8 or 10 years since I've been there, maybe a little less, because I go into the Apple store. I used to. But I go the back way, get into the Apple store, and get out.
That is the mall that is the most, it's still very, very well.
Yeah.
People are there. The other malls all around are like ghost towns. But
what I'm talking about is I used to go and I would sit in the common area there, just off the food courts, and I would just watch the people. I watched couples, and I watched how he was acting with her or she was acting with him. I was very observant of all of those things. I could tell if somebody was domineering or somebody was shy, and you could even tell if they'd been having a fight. You can see it in their body language and the way that they're walking with each other. Watch children. Watch how the children are responding and how the parents are handling them, touching things they shouldn't and everything. Tells you a lot about a person. So I wasn't trying to be weird, but I'm just a student of people. So I would study all of that stuff. Then I would know. And you could even say to somebody, if you had the opportunity, I notice you're struggling with something. And a lot of them will think, well, how do you know that? Are you psychic? No, I'm not psychic. I'm just observant, and I can hear the Holy Spirit. Okay? Even start watching when you're in a restaurant and the wait staff. Watch how they're acting. You can tell the person that's a take charge person, and you can tell those that are kind of laid back. If you ever get a laid back waiter or waitress, you'll know. You won't be totally happy, will you? Okay.
Question.
Yes.
Do observants are always watching even when they're enjoying dinner?
Unfortunately, most of the time. Yeah. I have to make myself relax and not pay attention. It's, for me, it's got, okay, I'm not going to pay attention to that. But yeah, once you start and you're involved in it, you will find yourself doing it just naturally. Yeah. Even in church. Now, when the service begins, my back is to everybody. But what some people don't realize is I see the reflection of everybody in the TV screen. I can see when they're coming in and they're moving around and everything. But I am very observant of people when I'm preaching because I want to see who's making eye contact, who's uncomfortable. And you can tell when you're saying something and it's affecting somebody probably greater than everybody else. You need to be able to see that stuff so that you can minister from there. But that's getting a little off our focus here. Okay? All right. Now, what I would like all of you to do is I want you to either complete this for yourselves or have somebody sit down and have somebody take this profile test. Okay. Now, how many of you want to take it for yourself? Okay. I'm going to do this. I'll talk you through some of these, okay? I want you to begin to just do a few. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to get this started. So that way, if you got any questions, you can ask me. And then I'm going to come back, and then I'm going to talk about strengths and weaknesses. And those of you that are in Zoom or you're online and you're watching this, if you go back, I think it was last week's lesson that I did, I put the links in there for the online personality profile test. So I strongly want to encourage you to go back there and take those. And once you have done that, I think I wrote it in the lesson as well. If you can send me a copy or just send me the results. I had a couple people take them, but I would like to see the results.
I'll share my results.
Okay. So I don't have the theme music for Jeopardy, but just play it in your heads while I got everybody working on this little project here in the classroom. I would play some music right now, but they'll shut us down. Yes. Okay.
Is it appropriate to ask, can you read me? Like, is it obvious, like, what type of personality I have? I'm gonna actually do this on my husband, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's gonna be fun to kind of
Yeah.
learn his personality. But, are you able to, like read me? Or no?
Well, I think that you have a lot of introvert types with you, okay? Between the phlegmatic and the melancholy. I think you're a person that likes to do things and do it right, but you're on the reserve side. And once you get started, you're open, you can get going. But you're not one of those that just quickly jumps in, okay? I would say that I'm going to give you another one so that you can do your own, but I'm going to say, and it's a little bit of a guess, that you're going to show somewhat strong and phlegmatic.
That was so weird. That was actually that was my personality. And I was kind of shocked by that. But I do believe that these type of tests are good to do all the time.
Yeah.
Because people change.
Yep.
So I had to really sit with this for a while. And I asked God, I'm like, is this thing accurate? But then I thought about it and I said, but you know what? The season that I'm currently in, and you can attest, I'm a student right now.
Yeah.
I've led big groups of women. I've done retreats by myself with the help of a few volunteers.
Yep.
But I don't care about all that. Like I just I'm telling God right now, use me, but more than using me, teach me right now.
Yeah.
I've already been used, and I feel like the best leader. The quote I've heard before was, "The best leader knows how to be a pupil as well."
Oh yes.
Because who wants to lead all the time, you know? And that's pride. So it's funny. Anyone else who knows me would be like, "Shelly, that's inaccurate. You're confident. But no, the girl that I am right now is exactly what you said.
Yep.
Now, a few months ago, or maybe even last year, was different. But it's not always about being seen. It's not about that at all, actually.
Right.
So I'm just really asking God to teach me, and that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
So I guess I am phlegmatic now.
Yep.
A few months ago, I don't know.
Phlegmatic people can make good leaders. And one of the primary reasons for that is they like to be peaceful.
Yeah.
And there are people that need leaders that are peaceful with them and not harsh. So when you look at the weaknesses of a choleric, they can be harsh, very demanding, and people will draw back. So yeah, phlegmatic people make good leaders, but usually they have to be coached. Got to be drawn out.
That's me.
Yep.
I feel that's me too. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm a person that it takes me a while to get used to people, and once I'm used to them, then I'm outgoing.
Mm-hmm. That's a phlegmatic.
Yeah. I've accrued some church hurt. I never knew what that term was. I feel like people I used to coach back in the day would talk to me about it. I'm like, what is church hurt? Anyway, I'm in this season where I'm like, wow, I've been hurt.
Yep.
Just within the last year. So I do believe situations can change a person and make them phlegmatic, when they're typically not. So it's really interesting. I really thank God for you and the homework that you're giving, because it's eye-opening. And it shows me.
Yep. Amen.
I'm not typically phlegmatic, but I am healing, and I didn't realize. I now can say, wow, I know what church hurt feels like. I'm grateful for it, because now I can better help people. But yeah, I'm just a pupil right now.
So how are you guys doing?
Very good.
How far down are some of you? What's
I
that?
finished, but this strikes my ego. I had to kind of like, okay, this is who you really are. You're this person too, but
Yep.
let's remember where we came from.
I kind of have to look at the definitions to like align it with
Oh
who
yes.
I am.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You should.
Yeah.
You should read them carefully. All right. So I'm going to have you guys pause where you are. I know you're having too much fun. Those of you that are online, you don't realize how much fun that they're having here in this room right now. Smiles on their faces. A couple of cross-eyed.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I want to jump ahead just a little bit, and then we'll come back to the profile testing. Once you've identified strengths and weaknesses, that's the next step is to create a personalized action plan. Okay? So, you can do this for yourself, but primarily what I'm teaching you for is you as a counselor. So, like I'm doing with you, you guys are going to take this personality profile test, follow the directions on it, and next week, bring it back to me. Now, what I would do if I was counseling you, which I might do a little bit of that, I would help you to develop a personal strategy, primarily to overcome your weaknesses. You know, when you look at that, what can we do? Well, we're going to take one step at a time. If you got 7 weaknesses or, 8 weaknesses, I'm not going to take all 8 and say, okay, we're going to fix these in the next week. That doesn't work that way. Yes.
I feel like in the past, I've had some of the weaknesses in phlegmatic, but I feel like I've overcome them.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah. Like when I was younger, forget it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, remember we said that
Yeah.
the idea is to overcome the weaknesses, yeah, and adapt to other strengths. So you're not, you're not changing one weakness for another weakness. You're changing a weakness for a strength.
For strength, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the things that you have to do, and your counselees will have to do, is set realistic goals. There was one course that I taught, it was last year, we talked about being realistic. Okay, a lot of times people are not realistic about things in their life. And, I've seen this especially with parents having their children come for counseling. And then, I can identify the things that are going on there. Well, they want instant results. They think that overnight my child should be changing. This is the way you're supposed to be, so start acting that way. Well, it's like the old saying. People have said this to me when I was younger. Now I wish I would have had this answer for them then. They would say, you need to act your age. Now if somebody said to me, you need to act your age, I said, I don't know how. I've never been this old before.
Yeah. That's a good one.
And so sometimes with our children, when we're counseling them, they've never been in that situation before, they're lost. So instead of having negative or harsh correction, what we need to do is give instruction. We give encouragement. Okay? Now that you're this age, this is how you should be responding to these things. This is what you should be focusing on. Okay, another thing that you want to do is you need to find resources. Think about what kind of resources that you need or another person may need. Sometimes in counseling, one of the things that I see and I recommend as a resource are support groups. There are some people that don't need individual counseling per se, but they should be in a group of their peers with similar things that are going on in their life so they can feed off one another, bounce ideas off one another. And usually in a support group, you have one person that is a facilitator that keeps people on track. Now, with that said, I just want to remind everybody, and especially the new ones, you probably haven't heard this one, but we are going to be doing an actual group coming up in a few weeks. I've got to look at the calendar and figure out when we're going to do it. We'll either do it at the end of this term or at the beginning of the next term, because you're being trained to be counselors. And so what we need to learn how to do is start working in group settings. And then some of you, I'm going to be calling on you to sit with me while I'm counseling people. There are a couple of reasons for that. When I have females that I'm going to be counseling, I don't want to be alone with them. So I need somebody to be there. But also at the same time, the flip side of that coin is you're going to be able to observe. You don't necessarily have to participate, but you can observe what's going on, how the counseling is going. You know, observe, are there redirects that are coming? That was a big thing. We used to use the language you used a lot in the school system as behavioral analyst was the redirect. And so a lot of times when you're working with children with behavioral issues, you have to redirect them. You don't scold them, you redirect them. And of course we had to take data. And every time that I had to do a redirect, I had to write it down. Now I used the tablet. I had a program on the tablet provided by the school, and I would watch this. And so you're able to analyze that. How is this child doing? Maybe they're somebody that needs a lot of redirection. Well, you don't want that to stay. You want that to go. So now you have to have a plan. You have to work with them. And through the process of taking the data, you can track and see how they're doing with that. And that, you know, comes back to your counseling as well. How are my counselees doing with the things that I'm working with them on? But it has to be practical. There are times when I recommend certain books for people to read, but not always. And the reason for that is, you know, we don't have cookie cutter answers. But there are some people, you know, where they're at in their life, this would be a good thing for them to read. And one of them that just recently has started coming on my radar again is the 5 love languages. I'm beginning to see another need for that with some people. So I'm like, okay, this is what you need to do. Instead of me teaching it, I'm going to give them the book and let them work on it. And I will often tell couples, read it together. Okay? Read it together and then discuss it. And then learn what it means to have a different love language. All right? Now, what you want to do is, with your counselees or even for yourself, is learn how to celebrate and use your strengths. When you identify your strengths, don't put them aside and say, well, if I do that, that's pride. God gave you strengths. Okay? Now, you may be coming short in some areas where you need strength, but that's a part of our character development. That's what we're going to be working on. But you want to be able to celebrate your strength. Be happy about it. Say, this is what my strength is, and this is what I'm going to operate in. I really like it when I find people that volunteer in the church and they work in the area of their strengths. Sometimes people volunteer just because they feel they need to volunteer, and you know that's how they're going to get favor with God. What is that called? What is it?
People pleasing.
That's called works.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do something that I'm not comfortable with, because then God will see the sacrifice I'm making, and God is going to bless me because of that. But that's a system of works. And what I want to see people do is identify their strength and then say, how can I plug in? Where can I fit? Okay, there are places for everybody. Volunteers, you know, have strengths. Now, simply when you talk about volunteers, they're just not being paid here on earth, but they are in heaven. But again, you come back, you want to plug them into their strengths. They shouldn't be afraid of what their strengths are. And then when you talk about weaknesses, you have to challenge them to overcome and achieve success. You know, when people do things here, I want to see them be successful. I don't want failures. Conferences, you know, the women had their first conference. I'm going to say the first annual. There were challenges, and there were things that, you know, you learned from. Things that work, things that don't work. But the idea is not to say, well, we had 2 or 3 things that we shouldn't have done, and that therefore this was not a success. No, it was a total success. Now you're going to learn from those things, right? You got to challenge yourself to be successful in all those areas. You just make changes. And I've been doing stuff like that for quite a few years. So for me, there are a lot of things I've already learned the hard way. And I had to learn to be a planner. Okay, I know how to put a plan together, and I know how to break it down step by step. These are the things that need to be done. And I had to learn how to put deadlines. Sometimes I forget to use that. I just go at it. But those are good things. And so the weakness of some people's personalities is they don't like a plan. They just want it to happen. We're going to go into this. I've got these people invited to come, and we're just going to throw this together as a hodgepodge. But what happens is it does not flow. There's always a kink that comes along, and you're like, now what do I do? So you have to have a plan, and you have to work the plan. Yes.
I saw self-sacrificing, and I looked at it, and I circled sociable, but I had to come back to that because I just didn't see it as a strength. I saw it always as a weakness, and I learned growing up the difference of sacrificing and compromising, and I constantly remind myself so that I'm not self-sacrificing, but to see it as a strength is very appealing.
It is a strength. Yeah. Not everybody can sacrifice. Okay?
It's hard to do.
It is.
You mentioned last week that roles, the birth orders. I'm
Mhm.
child number 4. I have 3 older siblings, and then there's the younger one. So I feel that comes with that territory of being okay with because I can give more or hold out more or hold my breath for longer. I tend to sacrifice more.
Yeah, I remember talking about that. In the birth order, I'm number 1. And I felt like an experiment at times.
Yeah.
And then I see, number 6. I won't get into that tonight. It's like, where'd you come from? Okay. Now, I want to move over to the sheet that I gave you, the first one that I started with. And in the last 9 or 10 minutes that we have in this class session tonight, I want to draw your attention. And hopefully you guys online were able to go in and open up this link that I sent for the strengths and weaknesses. So let's just, for the sake of discussion, because we have at least 2 people in the room that are phlegmatics, let's take a look at the strengths of a phlegmatic. So on that sheet, if you look to the right, the low-key personality. They're easygoing and relaxed. Calm, cool, collected. Patient and well-balanced. Now, this is in the category of emotions. Consistent life. Quiet but witty. Sympathetic and kind. Keeps emotions hidden. Happily reconciled to life. And they're an all-purpose person. Now, that's the strengths in their emotion. They're balanced. Okay, typically phlegmatics that have it together, they're very balanced in their emotions. They don't have highs and severe lows. So when you are looking at a person that is a phlegmatic, but you're noticing in their life or what they're telling you that they have spikes, they can be really high one day and very low the next. That's a sign of depression. Now, we don't know if it's a spiritual depression. We don't know if it's a clinical depression. So there are ways that we want to discover that. So if you know that a person's personality is phlegmatic, they should not have these ebbs and flows like that. They'll have days when they're disappointed, discouraged, yeah. But it's not going to wreck their day. All right? When it comes to work, they are competent and steady. Peaceful and agreeable. Now, having been a business manager and managing churches for 38 years, I like people that are peaceful. I also want people that know what needs to be done and do it. Okay, for me, when I've given somebody a job and a job description, I expect them to do it. All right, and I want somebody that is just going to get it and get it done. But at the same time, I want people that will take the reins and see it all the way through. So there is a place for every type of personality. But this one, the peaceful and agreeable one, that makes your day. It's Hazel's saying that we should credit her with, "Yes, Pastor." How many times have you heard her say that? "Yes, Pastor." Sometimes I think, why don't you say no once in a while?
I've never heard her say no.
No? Okay. Now, another strength is they have administrative ability. Not necessarily management, but administrative. I describe administration as the hub of a wheel. So if you take a look at a bicycle or a motorcycle wheel, you've got the hub, right? The center point, the center part of the wheel. From that, spokes go out, and they attach to a rim. And on that rim, that's where the rubber is. And the old saying, that's where the rubber meets the road. But what's holding it together and keeping it balanced? The hub. So administration in business and in the church, that's the hub of all of the ministries. And what they are doing is making sure that every ministry gets what it needs and it's balanced. That's administration and administrators. And the phlegmatics make very good administrators. Why? Because they don't act like the boss of the people in the ministries. They understand what it means to be support. When you get administration where they think that they're the boss now, this is where friction comes. Well, you can't do that unless I approve it. There are people working in administration that will do that. You know, I'm not going to approve that. Well, it may not be your thing to approve to begin with. All right? Okay? So they mediate problems. They avoid conflicts. They're good under pressure. Why do you think they're good under pressure?
Because they're calm and collected.
They're calm and collected. It comes back to the emotions there. And they find the easy way. Do you realize how innovative that is? There are people that just work hard and they're just going to keep working hard. And then you got the phlegmatic personality that says, I don't want to work that hard. There's got to be an easier way to do this. Let me find it. Let me figure it out.
I always say, work smarter, not harder.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And then with their friends, easy to get along with, pleasant and enjoyable, inoffensive, good listener. If you want to be a counselor, you need to be a good listener. Dry sense of humor. Enjoy watching people. Yeah, I'm describing myself a little bit there. Has many friends. Has compassion and concern. Okay, those are the strengths. Those are people you want on your team. But let's just run down through the weaknesses of the phlegmatic. Number one is they are unenthusiastic. Remember I talked about being even-keeled? Well, it can be a strength emotionally, then that unenthusiastic attitude won't inspire other people. If I'm take it or leave it. Okay, well that's good because that's a weakness you don't want to have.
Yeah.
They're fearful and worried. So we're looking at weaknesses here, right? And these are the things we have to work on. We need to overcome.
Yeah.
They're indecisive. Remember I was describing the different types of people if you're a salesperson? The phlegmatic is the indecisive one. You almost have to make the decision and at the same time make them think they made it. Seriously. You know, the person is, well, I don't know, I think I need to sit on this one for a while.
That's me.
That's
Yeah.
sales, that's where sales tactics have to come in. Now, you can become offensive as a salesperson, and they'll say, no, I'm done, I'm out of here. But you can help them, making them think that they're making a decision. Well, sometimes it's like, well, I remember you saying that this is exactly what you need, right? Yeah. So, wouldn't this be a good time to do it? What would keep you from doing it right now? I don't know.
When we do this, do you want to, you said you wanted us to look at our old selves or what we are now?
Well, in a sense, if I was doing this as an evaluation for you, I would want you to look at your old self. But at the same time, if it's something that you have overcome, then choose the one that you are.
Okay.
Okay? Another weakness is they avoid responsibility. You ever have any children that did that? Don't want to take responsibility? I didn't do it, the dog did it.
I used to do that.
Okay, how about the quiet will of iron? We call that passive aggressive behavior. They won't say anything. They're not going to argue with you, but they won't do what you've asked them to do.
I call that kind of stubborn.
Well, stubborn,
Yeah.
passive aggressive,
Yeah.
that's what it is. And it's like, I'll show you. Without saying, listen, I'm not in agreement and I'm not going to do that. They're like, okay, passive aggressive. You know how the two sons, the father said, go out to the field. And one of them said, sure, I'll go, and then didn't go. The other said, I don't want to go, but I'm going to go. But one said, sure, I'll go, but he didn't go. That's passive aggressive behavior. And that's what we're talking about here. And it's disobedience. It really is. So passive aggressive behavior is not something that should be applauded. We should all avoid it as much as possible.
That's also a form of rebellion.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
They're selfish, too shy and reticent, too compromising, and self-righteous. These are the weaknesses of the phlegmatic. When it comes to work, they're not goal-oriented. Okay, you got to learn how to set goals and do them. They don't want that. Just let's take it as it comes. They lack self-motivation. When are you going to get that done? I don't know. I get around to it. So I used to carry a little round things in my pocket that had the word to it, T-U-I-T. And when somebody would say to me, when I get around to it, I'd reach in my pocket, take it out, and here you go. I learned that from a motivational speaker. Now you have a round to it. Another thing that some people used to do is carry fishing sinkers, the little lead sinkers. And they would say, well, when I feel lead, take it out of your pocket, hand it to them, say, put this in your hand. Do you feel it? Yeah, that's lead.
That's go ahead.
Okay, that's humor. They're hard to get moving. They resent being pushed. Don't push me. Right? How are you doing at that job? Don't you worry about it. That's a weakness of a phlegmatic. It's like, no. They're lazy and careless. They will discourage others. They would rather watch than work.
No.
I could put some names on that one, but
Yeah.
That sounds like the personality that you described, that I compared to narcissists.
well, yeah. Yeah. Okay, and then when it comes to their friends, they damper enthusiasm. You ever get excited about something, you're going to do it, and they're like, I don't think that's going to work. I think you're making a big mistake. You shouldn't do that. They will try to dampen your enthusiasm. This is why I don't share my vision with everybody. I don't talk much. Because you always have somebody that's going to try to dampen what you're doing. Well, I remember a pastor trying to do that and it didn't work. Why do you want to go into business? Everything's going rough right now in the economy. Well, because you're so lazy, you don't want to go out there and be an entrepreneur. Doesn't mean that I don't want to. Okay? They stay uninvolved. They're not exciting. They are indifferent to plans. Judge other people. They're sarcastic and teasing. And they resist change. These are the weaknesses of a phlegmatic.
I don't think I'm any of those.
Just like
I'm not
going
any
through
of
like a
those.
list of people in my head.
Yeah. Maybe when I was younger, I was quite a few of these, but I am not any of those things in the friends.
Well, thank God.
Yeah,
Thank God for that.
yeah.
I know
Okay.
one person that has all of these.
Oh, really?
True phlegmatic.
Well,
And he's a good masker. He
Uh-huh.
masks very, very well.
Okay. Adult?
Yes.
Okay.
Very charming.
Hmm.
I hate the charming ones.
He wears them all.
Sounds like narcissist.
All right. Well, tonight's class has been a little bit different,
Yes.
but the primary thing that I wanted to do tonight was talk about how to identify strengths and weaknesses, and then how to formulate a plan to be able to work over those. And hopefully you'll have that all done and ready when you come back next week. Those of you that are in the class, I hope that you have a chance to go and download the ones that are there, take them online, and then just send me a copy of your results. My email address is in that particular lesson, so you'll know where to go for that. So let me open up here real quick and get back into Spirit Life. Boom. Okay. So that would be lesson 2. Yeah, lesson 2 has the hyperlinks to those 2 particular tests. Tonight, the strengths and weaknesses, lesson 3. I put something in there and it's gone. I must not have saved it. My apologies. So all this time I've been telling everybody to add go look at the strengths and weaknesses. It's not there. My apologies. Okay, so next week we're going to focus in on understanding personality disorders. All right, so tonight we've talked about identifying them. We've talked about the strengths and weaknesses. There's a whole lot more to it than just that. But next week I am going to talk about how to understand the personality disorders. And again, I want to emphasize that personality disorders don't need to be major disorders. While there are major personality disorders, multiple personalities, different things like that, we're focusing in on the weaknesses. They are personality disorders. And the best thing that we can do as counselors or teachers is to work with people to help them to identify those weaknesses and overcome them. Because they are disorders. Because they will disrupt a person's life. Especially if they have many of them in one particular category. Okay?
I worked with a girl like that, but I honestly, this class would probably help me with her if I worked with her again.
Good. All right, so while we are getting ready to wrap up, I am going to put the link to tonight's YouTube into the class. So there it is. Done. This time, save. Thank you. Oh, actually, I put it in the wrong place. Strengths and weaknesses. There we Okay. That's it. Lesson 3. Very good. And when I get a chance, I'll work on getting a copy of this back in there for everybody that's online. Any questions from anybody here? All right. Any questions online, Hazel?
No questions.
No questions? Okay.
She said no.
All right. So let's close out. Father, thank you so much for this time tonight. I pray that you help us to become skilled in identifying the weaknesses and the strengths of people, but also help us to be able to help people to overcome these weaknesses so they can develop the characteristic of Christ in their lives. And I pray that, Lord, that you will bless the time that we have together and bless each person. I thank you for the input that they have given, the sacrifice they make to sit in on this class. So bless everyone now, I pray, in the mighty name of Jesus, our Christ. Amen. Amen. God bless you. Class is dismissed.